estimated that this would allow some 800,000 New Yorkers to vote. Why do you think there's so much opposition with this?
So there's two big arguments to be made opposing it. Number one is you've got Mayor de Blasio and Mayor-elect Eric Adams arguing that the city can't actually do this unilaterally. They would have to get permission from Albany and have the state law or state constitution changed. It's not clear, and Mayor-elect Adams has said he would have to go to whoever winds up being his lead attorney in the mayor's office to find out if we were actually allowed to do this or not. The other arguments are going to come from Republicans, members of the city council, so High Staten Island, who are going to argue that really this is going to dilute the votes of citizens, that citizens' votes will matter less. Finally, you do get some folks who are arguing that if you have the right to vote in local elections, that's going to reduce the incentive for people to actually become citizens. Remember, once you've got a green card, you can stay here permanently and work and live your life in the United States. And not everyone who does that actually winds up becoming a full citizen of the U.S. And we want to encourage people in general to become citizens. And if this gets in the way of that, it could be a problem.
Well, so historically, immigrant voters lean Democrat. If this passes City Council, what potential impact do you think this could have on New York City as a whole?
So first off, we are looking at a lot of voters, right? This is about 800,000 non-citizens. The biggest groups are Dominicans. It's about 120,000, a little less than that for Chinese American voters. The big impact is not expected to really favor Democrats here. The reason for that is that very few of the voters who are enfranchised, if this bill passes, would actually cast votes, because there's other states that have done this, and we see the voter turnout among these groups is pretty low. So the people who actually wind up signing up to vote under this are actually disproportionately ones who are older and wealthier, and therefore actually a little more Republican than their cohort. So this really doesn't favor one side or the other too much. What it does do, however, is it does shift the balance of power and where voters actually are in New York City. So this would be bad, for instance, for areas that don't have a lot of immigrants. So if I was the representative from Staten Island, I wouldn't be too happy about this. But if I was a representative from Queens or the Bronx, this would probably increase the number of voters in my district pretty substantially.
And Dan, you earlier mentioned the legality around this. So what challenges do you foresee?
So I imagine there will be lawsuits about this if this bill passes, saying that the city can't do this on its own and this is an issue for the state constitution to deal with. That's actually a little hard to swallow at this point, given that New York City actually already extended the franchise to non-citizens for school board elections up until the school boards were abolished in 2002. So there's precedent for this. There's more controversial now, I think, largely because there's more of a concern about voting and about the franchise than there really was in 2002, when it was really kind of a bipartisan deal.
Well, some opponents say that voters should be the ones to make the decision, put it on a ballot, of course, a ballot referendum. Would that be a better option, do you think?
Again, it wouldn't change the legality of it.
Right.
Also, if we're talking about allowing people to vote or not, it seems a little silly to say we're going to allow the people who already can vote to decide if we're going to let new people vote or not. If people have the right to vote, it really shouldn't be up to anybody else to decide whether to give them that right or not.
Right, but very interesting points. Dan Casino from Farley Dickinson University, thank you so much for your insights and being with us today.
Always a pleasure.